Hi, everybody. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. So I was planning to come on earlier today, but I got busy. And then I thought, oh, it's too late to come on. And then I thought, no, let me come on. So this is a channel, as most of you know, where I read Lenormand, which is a 36 card um, European divination system to sort of give a context to the things that are going on in our world. Every so often, I like to remind you that I have a book out which is called The Language of Lenormand, which teaches you how to read um, uh, both, in a traditional way and in the sort of the updated way that or the updated style that I bring to my own card reading. So, Language of Lenormand is available anywhere, and there's also a French version. So, that's pretty cool. I have an online course um, that you can access, and if you hit the More button, you should be able to find information for that. I use my own deck, which is available through La Panthère Studio, and there's also a link for that. Um, so yeah, so there is just so much news, and I really wanted to distill it down to a couple of issues that I'm going to talk about today. Tomorrow, I will be writing on Substack. If you're following me on Substack, just you search my name and I'm there, or you go to In the Company of Cards on Substack and I'm there. I've been writing twice a week, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays, I generally work now without cards, and Thursdays, I do work with the cards. And when I say cards, on Thursdays, I use Lenormand, of course, and I also use an African oracle called the Adinkra oracle, and I also use tarot because I'm a tarot reader as well. Okay, so for tonight, I think there are maybe three or four issues that I'd like to look at. I don't want us to be here long. I know it's late. I'm tired. Also, I'm hungry. Uh, but I guess the first one that I want to ask has to do with this big document dump that we had over the weekend on Friday, I guess it was. And I find it just, I mean, as interesting as everybody else finds it, the fact that it was a dump, all right. We've got tons of unredacted material that you would think, especially since they were late in letting the material go, become public, and they still haven't released everything, nor will they by their own admission. But when they had all this extra time, why was there so much that was unredacted? Both in terms of victim identification, like photographs that are not were blocked out, and other sort of identifying information about victims, but also so much bad, bad, bad stuff about very, very powerful people from the felon onward. Like, why was that all? It just feel it was a dump. So I know there's been a lot of speculation about what that was. Like, was it sloppiness? Was it purposeful? In other words, are there foxes in the henhouse? Are there spies in the camp who said, let's just put this all out and, it'll make the felon and company look really bad? Why was it? And then when it was called to their attention that there was material out that they might want to redact or that they should have, according to the law, redacted, like the victim information, they pulled back the documents. But meanwhile, again, I've said this the other day, they are using 20th century methods in the 21st century. Like all you have to do is do a name search, and every time that particular name pops up, you ask that it be deleted. That's like a push of a button. It's not like somebody's sitting there with a magic marker or anything or a highlighter. So, how is it that there were all of those incriminating documents that were let out? Incriminating again, both of the victims and the perpetrators. Like, why? So I guess that will be my first question. I try to leave the question open-ended instead of being yes, no, because then it kind of gives the cards room to move around and speak in fulsome ways. So my question is, uh, why why such a seemingly haphazard dump? Why was not more redacted? And if they were going to put it out, why, when they have their attention called to the fact that there should have been redactions where there were not any, why did they pull the material back? Like what's going on? So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to let Spirit pick all the cards. That could be a little tricky to interpret, but Uh, I've thought about, do I use the letter card for the files? But sometimes the reason that I let Spirit pick all the cards is that I say, listen, hold my hand. I know you always hold my hand anyway, but Spirit, hold my hand in the answering of this question. Okay. Because I don't want my ego or my point of view to color the answer. What's up with this latest dump? What's up? Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, so Spirit's gonna pick all the cards. And if I need clarifiers, I will pull them out. Now, if you recall, the felon said he didn't really want the documents out because a lot of his friends, a lot of good people would be hurt. So if that was his stance, why is his uber obedient DOJ allowing this dump? It's also true that there are thousands of people who work at the DOJ. Not all of them are necessarily in lockstep with the felon. And as it happens now, a lot of his good friends have had their business put in the street to their great detriment because there are people around the world who've lost jobs over this. They're in the files in really gross ways and they have lost jobs. So he was right. His friends have gotten hurt. How did that, what's up with that? All right. So our original line of five is birds, garden, bear, child, and tree. So I think that there were a lot of cooks stirring this soup. There were a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And you know what that's like when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, the meal gets spoiled. So there were a lot of people involved in this, and I don't know if necessarily the left hand knew what the right hand was doing. They were working on this stuff for a long, long, long time, these DOJ employees. A lot of nights of cold pizza and stale coffee and not seeing their families. And I think there's also, um, this doesn't just feel like a lot of cooks in there. It's a lot of buzz there in the DOJ. And the garden is publicity. So is this card, by the way, publicity. So I feel like a lot of it was not accidental. I think it was, I'm tired of this. I want to go back to my regular duties. I'm just going to say this stuff's all been redacted and call it a day, even though it hasn't been. You know, uh, do I think some of it was because people wanted to hurt the felon? Well, we'll see. We'll see. But there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen, and I feel like they just dumped like a box of salt into the stew by putting it all, just throwing it all out there. Now, in the center, we have the bear. Now, I will say sometimes the bear is Russia, and I don't think Russia is uninvolved in all of this. Um, but a bear is a boss, and it could have been just people saying, you know, I'm gonna, I collectively, we are gonna just throw it out there and let the chips fall where they may. It's interesting that we have the child here. I mean, one of the things that the child card is about is new stuff. And there is new stuff that's been made public. I mean, a ton of stuff we didn't know has been made public. And then at the end, we have the tree. I just feel like there are people there who might have said, I'm just over this. Let's uh, let it all out, let the chips fall where they may. The French would say, les jeux sont faits. Just let's just throw it out there and whatever happens, happens. So let's start with this birds and look at the clarifier. So birds is talk, gossip, publicizing stuff, advertising stuff. So a lot was out there advertised, a lot was out there gossiped about. I mean, there was a lot in those files. We don't even know the half of it still. And the clarifiers are the anchor, the man, and the cross. And this is where I said that I was going to make reference to the fact that there were people, I think people had lots of motivations, that there were lots of people responsible for all of that material being dumped. And they all had, I think, different motivations. Some of the motivations are not good at all for the felon. Remember, this is my card for the felon. To have him stuck between an anchor and a cross, I think there were people there who did this to bring him down. Not everybody responsible for the dump, but enough that this is the very first thing that I'm shown once I look at the clarifiers. I mean, for him to be between the anchor and the cross, an anchor pulls you down from power. A cross is a card of pain. He's stuck in the middle of that. That's part of why it was done. Here's the garden, and this is the card for the public, right? And then we have the whip, the key, and the ship. I think that there are people there responsible for the dump to the public who said, let's throw this out there and stir people up. That's the whip. Because God knows there's been a lot of stirred up people, and that this could be the thing, the key that unlocks our nightmare and moves things along. The ship moves us forward in this whole process, moves him out of the way. So there, I do think there's some intentionality there. Okay, in the center we have the bear. Clarifiers are the scales, the young man, the older woman. I think whoever was responsible, and again, it's not just one person, whoever was responsible for this did a cost benefit analysis. Will this move things forward? Will this help us get to the end of this nightmare? They did this cost benefit analysis. But I also think that it was a combination of people who were relatively unskilled, young and unskilled and enthusiastic. And then, I mean, not for nothing, but you know, this is my card for Pam Bondi. She's the head of the DOJ. I've always seen her, you know, leaving and going to the Middle East somewhere to get some big money job. Uh, she has done the felon's bidding at every turn, allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only. And I would say that um, it has been, I'm going to say, a thankless task because there are apparently articles of impeachment that have been drawn up against her. We know that the felon will throw anybody under a bus. So it could have been a combination of people loyal to her and she herself, as well as relatively unskilled, unseasoned DOJ, um, what, uh, worker bees who are responsible for this huge, enormous dump. The child is our fourth card in our main line, and the child, if you recall, is about new stuff. And we did learn new stuff. New stuff was made public about all kinds of people. Clarifiers for this are fish, scythe, and mountain. I think that the things that we learned that were new have caused all kinds of emotional responses. You know, like names on the list, for example, of people who, I don't know, you might listen to their music. You might have enjoyed their whatever, their shows or their work in some way. And now you realize, oh, well, wait a minute. They are also part of this class of people that is willing to dehumanize uh, girls and women and boys for their own cavalier amusement. It's got to make everybody, it does make everybody feel some type of way. And the way is, I don't know, wounded, betrayed, hurt, furious. And I want to say a word about this mountain. You know, there has been this intractability about the felon, this idea that he's Teflon Don, that, like he said, I could shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen. But look, at the way that the cards are in the order that they come, this scythe cuts down this mountain. And what is the mountain but his impenetrability, his Teflonness. I think that he will be wounded by this. This is also a future line. So he can say all he wants. Well, I hardly knew him. I didn't, Epstein who? Jeffrey who? He he has been wounded, and the wounding is not done. No matter how much they try to retract and then redact. No, he's been, I would say, mortally wounded in a professional sense. And that's why there's the second question that I'm going to look at. I'm just going to look at two questions tonight. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow and do the others. Our fifth card in our original line is the tree, and the clarifiers are the house, the tower, and the book. So the tree is the card for health, the health of his White House, the health of his administration, the health of his tenure, um, of his government standing is in question. Remember that the book is about things we don't know, things that have yet to be decided. Certainly, there are more people looking at him cross-eyed than looked at him cross-eyed before. And again, the buzz is saying, can he weather this? So, again, to sort of synopsize this particular question before I go on to the last one that I want to look at, second one I want to look at is I think there was a confluence of events that happened. I think there were people who just said, "Ugh, I'm sick of working on this. I'm going to just take my portion and dump it all. Forget that it wasn't redacted. I'll say that it was redacted and whatever." So some of it was sloppiness, some of it was frustration. Um, but I also think that there was a calculatedness to this, a calculated sloppiness. Like, oops. And now let's see what harm it will have done. So I think there were as many motivations for how these documents got out the way that they did as there are people who work at the DOJ. And I also think that Pam, quiet as she's been of late, and as up against the wall as she is with these articles of impeachment being drawn up, it wouldn't surprise me if she didn't give the okay from on high. Remember, she's the head of the Justice Department. You know, when you are the kind of person that the felon is, even the people that you think are closest to you are only transactionally close to you. They're going to be as close to you as it serves them to be. But the minute it doesn't serve them anymore, the minute they get a better offer, the minute they see greener grass, they're not loyal anymore. So I think we'll see more of that as we move forward. Okay. I'll look more at Tulsi Gabbard maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, but for now, she is uh, tangentially part of what I want to look at tonight, which is elections. And the felon just made the comment in the past few hours, past hour or two, that interesting things in the ballots in Georgia, which Tulsi Gabbard was present for their seizure. Tulsi Gabbard facilitated a conversation between the FBI agents. She has nothing to do with the FBI. That is not her purview. But anyway, she facilitated a conversation between the FBI agents who raided the Georgia elections bureau and the felon, who really has no business talking to anybody. But the felon who can never help but tell on himself tells us, oh, that was really interesting. And you're going to see there's some interesting things would happen with those ballots in Georgia. Because remember, he lost. And then the next thing he says is, I think that we should nationalize the elections in the blue states. Wait a minute, excuse me, what? What? Now, a rational person would say, well, that's not going to happen. You can't do that. That's against the law. But how many things has he already done that are against the law? And then we have to wait for Congress to not act. And then we have to wait for the legal system and its creaky gears to get moving. But meanwhile, he's done his dirt. So the question I want to look at, the big question is, you know, will he, well, he will, well, we know he's going to try and do it. He's going to try to gain control over blue state elections. I mean, I want to laugh even as I'm saying it, but it's not funny. It is a fascist move. There's just no other way to describe that. That is fascism. We are not on the cusp of it, on the edge of it, near it, close to it, in proximity of it. We are in the midst of a fascist takeover by a fascist regime. You know, if you're waiting for the banner headline somewhere to tell you that, that won't happen. But we are walking a fascist path right now. So what I want to know is I would just like to look at the midterms. So I'm going to use the letter again, and and they will stand for the November midterms and I want to look at the blue states, just the blue states. How will things go with the midterms in blue states? Trying to leave it nice and loose and open-ended so that the cards can tell me whatever they want to tell me, but I am going to draw a significator focus card, and that will be the letter. That will stand for midterm elections in the blue states. Okay. So we have the anchor, we have the clover, we have the blue state midterm elections, we have the fish, and we have the star. I pulled clarifiers only on the letter, which stands for the elections, but let's just say I think the elections will go off as they're meant to. I love that I can mirror the anchor, which is the card here for stability, with the star, which is the card for future and hope. So I really like that. Second card is clover, which is a card for luck, and I can mirror it with fish. I don't think fish here is money. I think fish here is emotion. I think by the time the November elections roll around, we will be uh, lighter of spirit. I'm just saying. I think we will be lighter of spirit. Here are the elections, and the clarifiers are the bouquet, the woman, and scales. The elections, again, democracy is the gift that keeps on giving, but that we have to keep um, giving to ourselves, right? So I like this. I think this energy is just a non-felon energy. It's not the felon. I don't think he'll be around by then. And this is my card for, among other things, justice, fairness. So I'm going to pull on the star just to see what we get because, again, I'm very happy to see that star there because it's the card for hope. So what are the clarifiers? Well, assuming he is still around, he won't be in any position to do anything to anybody. In fact, he may be walking the earth, but I don't think he'll be walking the halls of the West Wing because, and I think what will be driving him there will be the Epstein situation. So, he says a lot of stuff, right? And it's like spaghetti that he throws at the wall. He just says the most outrageous thing that he would love to have happen, and then he just sort of waits to see if it sticks. This will not stick. There is no way that the blue states will be their elections will be nationalized. No. Um, not to say that we won't hear more noise about it, not to say that they won't try to maneuver a way for that to happen. It will not work. It will not work. Am I saying that by then fascism will be dead? No, but um, somebody might be. Get my drift. I think our elections will be fine in the blue states and in the country. So that's good news. I didn't know what I was going to say, but that's good news. And so we need to make it so. Let's make it so. I just had a reading with a client right before I came on here, and they're running for their state senate. And they said part of why they're doing that is they watch these broadcasts and they've asked themselves, what can I do? What can I do? Right? I can't get an audience in the West Wing with the felon. What can I do? And I would urge you to think like this client of mine and act locally because everything starts locally. You for me are local. This international audience that you all are. You are my community, my neighborhood, my local place. But you all live in neighborhoods. You live in towns. You live in cities. Uh, you have political structures that you can be a part of. You have organizations that you can join. You have neighbors who are in need and could benefit from what you have to offer. So again, let's think globally and act locally, as the saying goes. So I may come back tomorrow with some more questions. I know I'm going to be writing on Substack, so maybe I'll do both. Because these are interesting times we're living in. I hope you all have a good rest of the evening. I hope you sleep. I hope you're able to put aside what needs to be put aside for the hours that you're meant to rest so that you're ready to, pick things back up come the morning. Thank you for all the likes, shares, subscribes, the hypes, the comments. I love your comment section. I'm very grateful for it. Lena and I will be doing our live, which is Worldview 360, for an hour this time. The time is always on Wednesday night. That's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So I hope to see many of you in the feed then. It's alive. I'll put the announcement up probably tomorrow. And I will try to come on tomorrow and look at a couple more things. Thank you for being here. It helps me as much as it does you. Take care.